ReefDudes is sponsored by Brightwell Aquatics and Bulk Reef Supply.
Today we're talking recirculating CO2 scrubbers and ozone. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. Now, when I first started looking at doing the recirculating CO2 scrubber, I couldn't find any information on using it with ozone and how it would kind of affect it. I did a ton of research. I couldn't find anything that would necessarily say there's an issue with it, but then again, I couldn't find much information at all. Now, I've received a bunch of questions around this lately, so I figured today would be a good way to address it. Now, to start out, a recirculating CO2 scrubber is basically one that takes air from the top of your skimmer, runs it through some soda lime pellets and back into your skimmer. Now, mine is kind of a bit of a hybrid-y approach. I built this container on top that basically holds soda lime pellets. This thing literally cost me like $4 to make, so it's super cheap and easy. And there's a T in the side of it, and part of that T is connected to the intake. So it is sucking in air that's been pre-scrubbed for CO2. And you can see most of my pellets are purple. So my media is basically exhausted or getting pretty close. Every time I empty the skimmer cup, I give it a bit of a shake, just kind of like redistribute the pellets. I'm currently using the two little fishies brand in there. I bought some when it was on sale. Now the price went up, so we'll see if I use this one again or pick a different one. But now I have a bit of a hybrid-y approach. So as you can see, there's a T, and the other part of that T actually goes all the way up to the attic to bring in fresh air. So fresh air line to the skimmer. Now if we look here, you can see this is my ozone line. Now the ozone is coming from down below by my RDI system, and it is just being injected via sucked in through the line. And that suction tees into it and then gets sucked down into the skimmer. So my skimmer is acting as my ozone reactor. Now if you look at the top on the back side, you can see the T that I was talking about. So this is the line going to the venturi, the intake, and it tees off, so it sucks both outside air and air from here. So it is a bit of a blend. I never bothered to put a valve on it, and I just kind of figured it will suck from whatever sucks from each one and get a bit of a special blend. Now, in my experience after running this for a few months, I have not noticed any negative impact on the soda lime pellets from the ozone. Now, ozone also has a very short half-life, so it gets used up pretty quickly. So realistically, a lot of it is probably used up in the reaction chamber before it even hits the media. So I don't think there's a ton of ozone that would potentially make it through. I honestly feel the majority of it is being consumed via the bubble tower. Now it also of course depends on how much ozone you run. I'm always a big proponent of running just enough. So if you're only doing a little bit of ozone, then it's probably not a lot that would ever make it through up anyways. So with ozone, that extra oxygen molecule wants to get off, it wants to attach to something, it wants to oxidize something. So that all happens mainly within this chamber. And I have not seen any deterioration or anything on this plastic or anything else that would indicate that ozone is having any effect on it. So I personally don't feel that there is an issue doing this. Now that being said, I also have fresh air mixed in going into this, so it is a blend for sure. Now you might wonder why I'm doing a T and running both fresh air and recirculating. So the one potential issue I do consider with recirculating is you are taking the air from your skimmer. So this is the nasty air, this is all the fish poop, this is the stanky air, and re-injecting that back into your fish tank. So I do wonder if there is any downfall from running the skimmer of putting all those funky organics back into the water via the off-gassing. So that's kind of the main reason that I still run the outside air as well, so that you are mixing some fresh air in to kind of balance out the stanky air that's getting mixed back in. And that is one potential questionable side effect of running the recirculating skimmer mode. Now, is taking that nasty skimmer air and recirculating it back into itself negative? Is there a downfall to it? I don't think we know that for sure, and that's partially why I kind of like the way of doing it, mixing in the fresh air as well. I feel like it kind of counteracts and balances out all the kind of nasty organics that are getting recycled in through the circulating method. So I guess at the end of the day, that's something you kind of got to ask yourself. Obviously the pH benefit is huge, and that's why a lot of us will use the soda lime. That's why we'll do the recirculating method, is to get that extra pH boost to make the media last longer. Now the media is not the cheapest thing in the world, so that's kind of one of the main reasons you want to get the most value out of it. Now one thing I did before is I used to have the soda lime on filtering the fresh air coming in, so that it kind of scrubbed that, and I didn't have to work as hard because it's taking CO2 out of the outside air, which is much lower than inside air. So a few considerations. Now, again, does the off-gas thing of the skimmer, putting that back in the water, is there any downfall? I don't know for sure, but plausibly it's not as good as fresh air being injected in your water for sure. So that's kind of why I'm a fan of doing the T method. But to answer the initial question that kind of sparked me doing this video was using ozone with the soda lime. I have not personally found any issues or negatives from doing that. Everything still works very well. You can see the skimmer is obviously working well, doing lots of nice dark nasty skimmate. And as long as you don't do too much ozone, you find that just enough. I think there's a lot of benefits to helping your skimmer pull out more nasties, to increase that water clarity and everything that comes along with it. Alright guys, as always, hopefully you enjoy this, hopefully you learned something. If you have any experiences around ozone and or recirculating CO2 scrubbers you want to add, be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you've got any other questions around it, again, ask below. Enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.